Why is the US bombing Iran and dropping tariff bombs everywhere? Hey folks, if you've checked the news lately, one thing's for sure. June 2025, the Middle East turned into a firestorm. Who did it? The US and Israel went full throttle on Iran. But is that the end? Nope. The Trump administration is now throwing tariff bombs halfway across the globe too. So what's all this really for? Let me save you some time. It's all about one thing: never giving up the throne of #1 superpower. After World War II, America basically crowned itself the undisputed global top dog. Problem is, this throne is easy to climb onto, but the second you get off, it's game over. So what does the US do? Never lets go, ever. What's so sweet about being the top dog? One word: reserve currency perks. Every country on earth does trade using your money. $100 bill costs maybe 10 cents to print, but the whole world lines up to get it. Saying you're rich? Absolute honey. But who's poking the American bear? One word: China. For the US, this guy is enemy #1. GDP? Catching up. Military? Growing fast. Oil? Sneaking deals with Iran. Currency? Cozying up to Saudi kings with tea, whispering about ditching the dollar for the yuan. From America's point of view, well, that's not gonna fly. So what does Uncle Sam do? Iran bombs the nukes, then bombs the cash flow too. China? Hate China, enjoy these tariffs, boom boom. Allies? Rallies pro-US. Oil pals to swing the market. Swift? China tries to dodge with the yuan. LOL, nice try. Here come the sanctions. So what are we talking about today? This oil. Why the US still clings to it like a life raft. Reserve currency. Why the dollar's the king, and why that matters. Hegemony. How America keeps this whole puzzle in check. Top up that coffee. Let's unpack this power game blueprint together. Why the US bombed Iran, and how it hit China in the back of the head. June 2025, fireworks in the Middle Eastern sky. You seen the headlines? June 2025, the US and Israel teamed up and wiped out Iran's nuclear sites, oil depots, gas fields. The Middle Eastern sky looked like the 4th of July. Some folks thought, wait, they only hit nukes, right? Nope. They smashed more than just reactors. Why hit the nukes and the money veins? The real target? The oil and gas money spigot. They basically ripped out Iran's financial IV drip. Why? Iran runs 60 to 70% of its budget on oil and gas. Oil pipelines are national arteries. The tanks have to stay full if you wanna keep that nuke fund flowing. Mossad intel jets, drones, bombers, all systems go. So why this pop off now? Israel's spy masters at Mossad spotted something. Iran's nukes? They're almost done. So Israel launched fighter jets, drones, stealth bombers, the whole fleet. Targets? Not just nukes. They hit the gas fields, refineries, depots. They smashed them in a row. Check out the hit list. Just a few highlights. Shahran Depot, NW Tehran, heart of fuel supply for the capital. Shah-e-Ray refinery handles 220,000 barrels a day. Boom, tanks on fire. South Pars gas field, world's biggest. Some parts burned, output halted. Pasargad jam plant, major gas processing, nailed. Mashhad airport, fuel trucks blown sky high. Mossad doesn't play around. Operation Midnight Hammer kicks off. You think the US just watched? Nah, President Trump named it himself. Operation Midnight Hammer, dramatic, right? Middle of the night, they dropped 14 30,000-pound bunker busters, Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan nukes, and even oil pipelines in the blast zone. Iran's secret card, the Dark Fleet. But Iran? Not exactly the type to roll over. They've long known the US would choke them with swift sanctions, so they kept their secret weapon. The Dark Fleet. What is that? About 400 rusty old tankers. So old they creak when a wave hits them. By night they switch off their AAS, ghost mode on. Out in the Malacca Strait, Gulf of Oman, South China Sea, they do hush-hush ship-to-ship SDS transfers. Switch the labels, suddenly you've got Malaysian oil. Wink wink. China's teapot's cheap oil, no questions asked. Who's buying? China's teapot refineries. These small coastal refineries in Shandong. They're tiny but nimble, and don't sweat international finance rules too much. Cheap oil? Who cares where it's from? Pour it in. Dollar? Nope. Yuan? Yup. And here's the twist. They don't even pay in dollars. Why not? Use dollars and SWIFT sees it. The US sees it. Game over. SWIFT Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, aka the bank message network everyone uses. So they use China's Kunlun Bank and do it in yuan RMB. What does Iran do with that yuan? Buys Chinese machines, electronics, spare parts. Oil stuff nuke fund repeat. It's a real-life case study of a mini anti-dollar ecosystem. America knew everything. You think the US was clueless? Not a chance. Iran, China running oil in the shadows, dodging SWIFT with yuan and the dark fleet. They knew all of it. If they let it slide, SWIFT loses bite. The dollar's throne shakes. So this strike was designed to smash the whole structure in one shot. Hitting nukes alone won't cut it. Here's the summary. Iran Ghost Fleet sells oil, collects yuan, buys gear. China scores cheap oil off the books, keeps factories humming. USO, that pipeline? Depot? Let's blow that up too. That's what Operation Midnight Hammer was really about. Nukes alone? Useless. If the cash flow lives, the nukes come back. Cut the cash, cut the pipe, then you've got a shot. So, is it over now? Who's sweating? China. No Iranian oil means factory costs spike, shipping costs spike. Even with yuan payments, no oil, game over. But is this really over? Never. Iran's heading back to sea. SWIFT? That's American. We've got dark oceans. China's teapots, tying their shoelaces, warming up again. Cheap? We'll buy it all. America? Punching numbers, spinning bombers back up. SWIFT? Petrodollar, military muscle, the triple crown to protect the #1 throne. Bottom line, this power game never ends. June 2025, missiles, dark fleet, yuan, SWIFT. This wild hide and seek might look over, but trust me, it's never over. Because when it comes to the oil dollar power game, America has never, ever let go. Why oil? Why the dollar jumped in a barrel? Hey, let me ask you this. Why does the US hold on to oil like it's life or death? The answer's simple. 6 letters. D-O-L-L-A-R, dollar. See, the dollar we all know, it's just paper, right? So why does this piece of paper run the entire world? As the top reserve currency, here's the secret: the dollar became the king of the world, thanks to gold and oil. First up, the gold standard, putting the crown on the dollar. Back in 1944, right near the end of World War II, the winners all got together for this thing called the Bretton Woods Conference. That's when the US stepped up and dropped this smooth line. Alright guys, here's the deal. From now on, the dollar's locked to gold 1-to-1. 1 ounce equals $35. No back talk, everyone uses dollars, capiche? Thanks to that promise, the dollar became the world's VIP trade pass. Dollar equals gold, gold equals dollar. At first, the whole system rolled nice and smooth under this sweet little deal called the gold standard. But war eats money alive. Then came the Vietnam War. The US sent troops to Nam, poured in weapons, printed dollars like party confetti. But here's the catch: gold is fixed, it doesn't magically grow. So the gold stash stayed the same, while the dollar supply ballooned like a blowfish. Other countries started catching on. Hey, US mind swapping our dollars back for some of that gold? But the US gold vault? Yeah, it was drying up fast. Enter the Nixon Shock. Gold exchange? Nah, forget it. August 1971. President Richard Nixon goes on TV and drops this bomb. My fellow Americans, we are suspending the convertibility of dollars into gold, effective immediately. What he was really thinking: our gold's about to run out. People shut it down. That's the Nixon Shock for you. The dollar divorced gold and tried to stand on its own feet. So what props up the dollar now? No gold? Fine, find another real asset to back it up. The US thought long and hard and came up with the answer: oil. Why? Because as long as humans breathe, we need energy. Cars need to roll, Factories gotta run, planes have to fly, and all of that runs on oil. And who's the heavyweight champ of oil? The Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia. US, Saudi, the petrodollar bromance. So the US goes knocking on Saudi's door. Hey, Saudi brothers, we'll protect you, your royal family stays safe. We'll give you weapons, tech, whatever you want. Just one condition: sell all your oil in dollars only. Saudi thinks about it and says deal. Boom. Now every country on the planet needs dollars to buy oil. So they work hard to earn dollars, then park them in US banks or buy US treasuries. That's the petrodollar system in a nutshell. Put simply, the dollar got reborn as a barrel receipt. So what happened next? From the 1970s onward, the dollar ditched gold and sat pretty on an oil throne instead. You know how much oil the world slurps up every day? Over 100 million barrels daily, all bought in dollars. So the dollar, it's got energy, finance, and global trade all on a leash. That's why the US still clings to oil for dear life. What happens if the petrodollar cracks? Dollar demand drops. US Treasury rates shoot up, the dollar's value wobbles, the world's dollar cash flow stutters. So the US keeps tabs on the Middle East, always watching who's got a hand on the oil valve. Saudi, UAE, Kuwait, they're America's energy buddies. Why do Iran and China keep poking the US? Iran's like, no, we're done with dollars, and sells oil in yuan. China says, hey, we've got SIP's cross-border interbank payment system. We don't need SWIFT. How does the US respond? Airstrikes, sanctions, SWIFT bans, the whole arsenal comes out. So here's the wrap-up. The dollar started out backed by gold, ran short, so Nixon Shock broke it free. Oil filled the gap, now the dollar's tied to oil flows. The petrodollar is the heartbeat of US hegemony. So when someone messes with the oil valve, the US hits or blocks them. So yeah, the dollar ain't just paper. It's the world's biggest oil barrel and IOU rolled into one. The invisible hand of oil, swing producers and masters of crude hustle. Alright, here's a question for you. Does the US just pump oil itself to control global prices? The answer is nope. Sure, America bulked up with shale oil, but the real magic wand that shakes global prices, that's in the hands of these oil wizards called swing producers. Swing producers, the oil market's switch operators. Top player? Saudi Arabia. Saudi holds the world's biggest spare capacity stash. Put simply, they can twist that valve and boom. Need an extra million barrels a day? Coming right up. So Saudi acts like the oil market's switch operator. When prices get too high and American drivers start yelling at gas pumps, okay, big bro's got you, let's pump some more. But if prices drop too low and Middle Eastern budgets start sweating, hey guys, let's chill and pump a bit less. Yeah, thanks to this US-Saudi price balancing show, the world dodges nasty fuel shocks most of the time. Truth is, the Saudi king isn't just king in OPEC meeting rooms. He's king of your local US gas station price board too. Profit maximizers can't resist that cash smell. But hold up, is everyone as chill and cooperative as Saudi? No way. Iran, Iraq, Russia, these guys aren't swing producers. They're straight up profit maximizers. When oil prices rise, love it. Squeeze it harder. Even funnier, they might cut production just a bit so supply dips and prices climb even more. Sell less, make more. Genius. What do they do with the money? Iran funds nukes, keeps the Revolutionary Guard happy. Russia beef up the military, spread influence abroad. Iraq, well, Iraq's a soap opera. Every new regime, new plan. And the US? The US hates seeing these guys sell oil and bankroll more guns. So that's when sanctions, airstrikes, and the good old regime change card come out. Lock the oil, roll out the tanks. The little guys, whatever, we're selling anyway. And who's left? The small fry on the oil block. Think Nigeria, Angola, Venezuela was a big shot once. Now yikes, they don't have Saudi level production or the muscle to cut supply meaningfully. So whether prices swing up or down, they just sell. Gotta sell something. Venezuela claims to have the world's biggest oil reserves, but guess what? Their refineries are toast, so they can't even process half of it. Still, when you gotta sell, you sell. Price may. Let the market sort that out. US oil moves, those famous wars. So, why does the US go out of its way to keep Saudi and other swing producers on its side? Simple answer. Petrodollar, swing producer loyalty. Iraq war? Not just about getting Saddam. Saddam tried to ditch OPEC and sell oil in euros. Got a whole invasion for that. Afghanistan? War on terror on the surface, but underneath it was all about reshuffling the Middle East chessboard. If the swing producer belt cracks, the dollar's throne starts wobbling. Bottom line, controlling the valve's shield for the dollar throne. The US doesn't pump its own oil to rule prices. It manages the guys who can open or close the spigots. Profit maximizers? Watch, sanction, or smack them when needed. And so the global oil market stays on this delicate seesaw. If Saudi smiles, America smiles. If Iran's grinning too big, America's got a headache. Quick recap. Swing producers, America's precious oil switch operators. Profit maximizers smell cash, cut production, sell high, buy weapons. Little guys, sell what they can, when they can. Mr. Market calls the shots. So the US says, every single day, hey, I'll keep the oil party running. Just make sure you pay with dollars on the way out. Shale revolution, the game changer that made the Middle East less critical. Alright, picture this, like pouring creamer in your morning coffee. The world's oil game got a big splash of extra creamer too. That's the shale revolution. Shale oil? What's that stuff? Shale oil ain't some magical new fuel. People knew for ages. Hey, there's oil trapped in those rocks over there. Problem was, how the heck do you get it out? Unlike Middle Eastern oil that gushes out like a fire hydrant, shale oil sits stuck in tiny pockets in the rock, drop by drop, digging straight down. Useless. Tech saves the day, horizontal drilling and fracking. So the Americans got clever. Yo, why drill straight down only? Let's drill sideways too. That's horizontal drilling. Then they brought in fracking, blasting water, sand, and chemicals at high pressure to crack the rock and open little paths for oil to flow. Suddenly, that untouchable shale layer turned into a giant ATM. The impact, from oil importer to exporter. So, what happened next? Back in 2008, the US was the world's biggest oil importer. By 2018, for the first time ever, it flipped, boom, energy net exporter. How crazy is that? Now the US can pump oil and sell it to Europe. Meanwhile, Saudi's just standing there like, what now? The Middle East became less critical. Thanks to shale, the US doesn't cling to Middle Eastern oil like it used to. Block the Strait of Hormuz? No sweat, buddy, I got shale. Saudi tries to cut supply and push prices up. Go ahead, pal, we still got shale. So guarding all those choke points in the Gulf, Hormuz, Malacca, all those shipping lanes, ain't as life or death for the US as before. But why can't they let the Middle East go? So here's the twist. If they don't need Middle East oil, why not just leave? Reality check. US aircraft carriers are still parked in the Persian Gulf. And the White House calls emergency meetings at the tiniest sign of Middle East trouble. Why? China. China, the wild card in the shale era. China's still the world's biggest oil importer. About 40% of its oil comes from the Middle East. If the Strait of Hormuz shuts down, Chinese factories stop, shipping costs skyrocket, and the world gets hit with Lehman Shock 2.0. From the US perspective, shale keeps me fed, but my buddy, China's got a big weak spot right there, so I'll keep my hand on that valve. So yeah, even though America's got shale independence, it still plays oil cop in the Middle East. Shale revolution, US oil independence. Bottom line, for the US, the shale revolution means titled up as an oil net exporter. Major drop in Middle East dependency. Energy dominance back in its hands. But at the same time, keep China's big buyer pipeline on a leash. So the US Navy's not going anywhere. So the game changed, but not the whole story. Before shale, if the Middle East burned, the US burned too. Now with shale, Middle East blows up, China's burning, while the US shrugs and picks its options. That's why, even in 2025, America's still got bombers ready to hit Iran's oil valves. and if needed, they'll call their Middle East buddies and say, "Hey fellas, crank it up a bit." The yuan's big dream and the dollar throne's future. Alright, here's the final question. Could China really knock the dollar off its throne? China sure likes to think so. Hey, our GDP is already at 80% of the US. It's the era of the yuan now. Sounds legit, right? Well, the world doesn't bend that easily. China's big dream, oil paid in yuan. China's been dropping hints to Saudi, Russia, and Iran. Hey fellas, how about you stop taking dollars for oil and use yuan instead? Xi Jinping even flew to Saudi in 2022 to pitch yuan settlements officially. With Russia, they've already started doing some oil deals in rubles and yuan. Makes sense from China's side. Every time they buy oil in dollars, those dollars fly straight back to America. So China's stuck hustling exports just to earn more dollars. Which means they're basically a dog on a dollar leash. So why doesn't the yuan work? Here's the issue. The dollar's the world's trusted wallet. The yuan? It's China's personal wallet, and not everyone trusts it. Why not? Lack of trust. The dollar's been the boss of global trade for 80 years. It's weathered financial storms and still stands. The yuan? Still kinda jumpy, and Beijing can slam the door shut anytime. Tight capital controls. With the dollar, you can exchange it anywhere, move it freely. The yuan? Try to move out and the people's bank goes, "No, come back here." Chronic trade surplus. A true reserve currency has to circulate. The world needs dollars, so the US buys everyone's stuff and runs a trade deficit. But China? Its whole game is making money off exports. Running a big trade deficit on purpose? Good luck with that. A reserve currency is a result of power. Here's the golden nugget. You get a reserve currency because you're a superpower, not the other way around. The US keeps its reserve status because it's got troops all over. Its hand on oil, valves, and Wall Street open 24 hours 7 days. A dollar bill isn't just paper. It's backed by aircraft carriers, SWIFT, Petrodollars, Wall Street, and Silicon Valley all in one neat package. Why America won't let go of oil? So why does the US park aircraft carriers in the Strait of Hormuz? To keep China on a leash, protect the dollar's crown, and make sure Saudi, UAE, and other swing producers only take dollars for oil. Dollar, oil, power. That triangle is sacred. Yuan reality check, a long climb ahead. Of course, China's not sitting still. They've built payment networks like SIPs to do yuan deals. Pushed digital yuan ECNY to dodge SWIFT. Teamed up with Russia and Iran for a dollar club. But honestly, the dollar empire's wall is still way too thick. In 2025, 58% of global forex reserves are still dollars. Yuan? Just 3%. So, bottom line, China wants to cut the dollar leash, but trust issues, capital controls, and politics keep tripping it up. Meanwhile, the US ties the world down with dollars and oil, so global powers still rolls on the same combo. Money, oil, military, a full package deal. The throne of cash. What's this reserve currency anyway? Alright, let's really talk money for a sec. That $100 bill in your wallet? Technically just a piece of paper. So why is the whole planet fighting tooth and nail for it? Because that piece of paper sits on the reserve currency throne. What is a reserve currency? It's literally the spine of the global economy. When countries trade or do finance and say, "Hey, we don't trust your money, let's use something reliable," they reach for the global standard currency. Top dog? The US dollar, obviously. Yeah, there's also the euro, yen, Swiss franc, Canadian dollar, Aussie dollar, and China's ambitious yuan. But let's be real, the dollar's the king. The rest? Royal cousins at best. Why do we even need a reserve currency? Because the world can't run on one orbit alone. If Korea wants coconuts from Thailand, and says, "Here's someone," the Thai guy goes, "What's that?" So, they pay in dollars instead. Why? because the dollar works everywhere, and nobody thinks it's gonna vanish overnight. A quick family tree, the reserve currency lineage. The dollar didn't pop up out of nowhere. History's full of reserve currency MVPs. Ancient Greece drachma, silver coins for the empire's big traders. Spain in the age of discovery peso, hauling new world gold and silver everywhere. The Dutch guilder, trade powerhouse at sea, financial king. France franc, sipping wine while ruling trade for a bit. They each held the crown for about a century before passing the torch. The first proper global reserve currency, though? That'd be Britain's pound sterling. In 1819, Britain made the pound gold-backed. Print only what we got in gold, trust us. Combine that with the Industrial Revolution and the sun never sets British Empire, boom. The pound ran 60% of world trade. Enter the dollar, Bretton Woods, the big game plan. So, what happened to the mighty pound after 2 world wars? Total burnout. Gold vault, empty. London's financial district, bleeding. The pound now survived on trust, and that trust, cut in half. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the US, the brash kid on the block, was booming. Gold mines in the West, selling weapons, bankrolling the war, basically. The world's war supply store gold locker at the same time. 1944, the world's economic reset meeting. Near the end of World War II, the winners gathered up thinking, okay, we're about to win, who's gonna set the rules after? They met in a forest resort in New Hampshire, Bretton Woods. The guest list, massive, 44 nations, 730 delegates. The real showdown came down to 2 brains. Britain's economic wizard John Maynard Keynes versus the US Treasury's heavyweight Harry Dexter White. Keynes versus White, currency cage match. Keynes: guys, let's just make a brand new global currency for everyone. Call it Bancor. And an international bank runs the show. White: PFFT, too messy. Just use dollars. Peg it 1-to-1 with gold and keep it simple. Keynes: but currencies should stay out of politics. White: ha. No way, the US runs this show now. Who won? The US dollar vacuumed up all the gold, so the dollar won. Simple deal. The rules were clear. 1 ounce of gold $35. Any country could swap dollars for gold. Dollar, gold certificate. Easy, right? Spreading the dollar, the Marshall Plan. But hey, if dollars just sat in vaults, none of this would work. So America pulled out its ace. The Marshall Plan. Post-war Europe was in ruins, so Uncle Sam shows up. Here's the cash. But no flirting with communists. Deal? Dollars rebuilt Europe and kept the USSR in check. Dollar, gold, dollar, America. So now the dollar's legit, thanks to gold, and the US's power, economy, and military. It ruled the world's wallet. In the end, the backbone of the global economy, mining gold, selling weapons, and sprinkling cash all over. The good old dollar. Quick recap. Pound burned out, US scooped up the gold. Bretton Woods locked dollar, gold. Dollar, global gold certificate. Marshall Plan scattered dollars, blocked the Soviets. Dollar, finished as world reserve champ. So yeah, that $100 bill chilling in your wallet, it's packed with the wreckage of World War II, Keynes' heartbreak, a flash of gold, and America's power hunger. That's the real flavor of the Bretton Woods deal. Gold standard crashes, petrodollar rises. Bretton Woods made the dollar the world's gold receipt. But then the US messed up, big time. Vietnam War and the dollar printing spree. In the 60s, America dives into Vietnam. Communism? Not on my watch. But this quick win drags on for nearly 20 years. Bullets, bombs, feeding the troops, money just bleeding out. What did the US do? Well, gold's limited but dollars infinite. So they printed way more dollars than they had gold for. In other words, more receipts. Empty vault. Europe smelled it and rushed in. Europe saw what was up. France comes knocking. Hey, mind opening that vault for us? They roll up with stacks of dollars. Swap this for gold, please. Pop that vault open, just a trickle of gold, piles of dollars. Oops, empty vault crisis. Nixon drops the bomb, the Nixon Shock. So in August 1971, President Richard Nixon hops on TV and drops a bombshell. My fellow Americans, we're done swapping dollars for gold. The whole world's jaw drops. Wait, so the dollar's just paper now? Yep, that's the Nixon Shock. America's wild plot twist. Did the US just fold? Nah, never. No gold? Fine, the dollar's staying on top anyway. But they needed something the world had to buy in dollars. Cue genius diplomat Henry Kissinger thinking it through. Gold's out, oil's in, enter the petrodollar. Back then, the planet's most needed thing? Oil. Cars, planes, factories, can't run without it. So Kissinger goes to the Saudi royal family, handshake sealed. We'll protect you, military, economy, the works. Just sell your oil in dollars only. Saudis like, deal. As long as you keep the palace safe. Boom, petrodollar system ball. Dollar becomes an oil receipt. No gold? Oil took its place. Want to run your country? Need oil. Want oil? Better show up with dollars. So dollar, the world's oil receipt. Anywhere, anytime. No oil, you're dead. No dollars, no oil. That's the deal. So what happened next? Everyone had to buy dollars to buy oil, then park those dollars in US bonds. America used that cash to print more money, keep up the military, and play global cop. Recap. Gold standard out Nixon Shock. Oil backs the dollar, petrodollar in. Dollars just paper? Nah, it's an oil-backed certificate. So next time you look at that $100 bill, remember, it's not just paper, it's a planet-spinning oil coupon. This is how gold died and the petrodollar rose to glory. The reserve currency perk, the crown's sweet flex. Now, let's see how living as the reserve currency king really works. Seigniorage, print it, profit it. You know how much it costs to make that $100 bill? Paper, ink, machinery, maybe 10 cents. So where's the other $99.90 go? Straight into Uncle Sam's pocket. That's seigniorage, the easiest money ever. Wait, you mean printing money makes you money? Exactly. If you're the reserve currency, you can pull it off. Trade deficit? No sweat. Most countries panic if they run a trade deficit. Oh no. Our money's leaking. We're doomed. The US, the more dollars go abroad, the better. Why? The world's gotta keep using them. That keeps the crown shining. Huge deficit, whatever, just print more. 2008 meltdown. $1.5 trillion, oof. COVID? $5.9 trillion, oof. Trillions thrown around just to keep the engine running. Exchange rates? Who cares? Countries like Korea, Japan, Germany stay up all night stressing over currency swings. Rates rise, gas prices, ramen prices, all up. Trying to export too strong a yen? We're toast. But the US dollar's the dollar. Oil, phones, whatever, all bought and sold in dollars. Exchange rate panic? Zero. Reserve currency bottomless wallet. In short, print money, make money, spread money, grow power. Ignore exchange rates. That's the ultimate reserve currency flex. But the crown's heavy, risks and responsibilities. Of course, it's not all sunshine and free cash. The crown weighs heavy, really heavy. Print too much, hollow inflation bomb. If dollars don't spread globally and just circle inside the US, prices explode. $10 for a hot dog, $20 for a Coke, or worst case, a Venezuela-style hyperinflation meltdown. So the US has to keep dollars flowing out to stay safe. The world's trust is key. Call the dollar just paper all you want. It only works because people believe America's not going anywhere. But if the US economy stumbles, military shrinks, or Wall Street gets shady, bye-bye, dollar crown. Trade, military, finance, the holy trinity. You can't just print your way to the throne. Military? Gotta be number one. Finance? Gotta be the world's biggest. Trade? Gotta run the global show. Only when everyone says alright, We trust the dollar does the throne stay put. That's why the US plays World Cup, Wall Street's the vault, and the dollar's Earth's shared language. One-line summary. Being the reserve currency, the world's chillest money printer. The catch. Keep superpower status, unmatched military, finance, trust, all at once. Take it for granted, someone else will swipe the crown. So the US keeps printing, trading, flexing its military, all to keep the dollar flex alive. The bottom line. So, how's the dollar stayed king of the world? Gold standard, oil standard, trust standard. The world always bets on a currency it can trust. China's pushing its petro-yuan dream hard, but it's got a mountain to climb before it's the global currency. And that, folks, is the secret behind the reserve currency throne. It's all about trust, usage, and keeping the guns and deals backing it up.